Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me for this bonus episode of Conversations with Taz, and you will understand why I titled this Monday Mania. First of all, I do want to deliver you a trigger warning before we get into everything that happened today. From a little bit of research, this incident that I'm about to show you did occur yesterday in Texas at a Walmart supercenter. So I need you all to be safe. Like I said, I'm going to show you this clip. It's very, very short. And then we're going to go over a brief article.
Get my baby! Get my baby! Fuck this part!
In case you missed it, right at the start of that video, there was a white gentleman who pulled out a gun and aimed it at a black gentleman that was running past. Like I said, this happened in Texas at a Walmart supercenter. Coming from fox4news.com, shooting at Grand Prairie Walmart sends man to hospital. Grand Prairie police said a shooting at a Walmart Saturday night sent one person to a hospital. The shooting happened at a Walmart in the 2000 block of West I-20. Officers were called after a fight between two men. One of the men pulled out a gun and shot the other in the leg. Both left the scene before police arrived on scene. No other injuries were reported. Police later found the victim. He was taken to a local hospital. His condition was not released. The suspect was not found. Police say they know who he is, but did not release his name. Release it. Tell us who he is. Like, this is why they are so intent on the whole, don't take our guns, because they really think that it's the Wild West all over again. Like, seriously, the Wild West. But as tragic as that is, let's get into the nitty gritty. This thing with Trump is just compounding. We also have updates on Lindsey Graham, Rudy Giuliani, their former Trump aides, former Trump bedfellows that are now coming out expressing the truth. But let's get started with the latest Trump subpoena.
We are learning critical information in the raid on Donald Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. According to reports, the Department of Justice actually issued Donald Trump a subpoena for these national security documents back over the summer. And they believe that Donald Trump failed to adequately respond to this subpoena, and that he failed to turn over all of these classified national security documents, which is why they took the extraordinary step of searching a former president's home. Now, Donald Trump has a search warrant. He could release it, but he has yet to do so.
Yeah, the only thing Trump has released is the unredacted originals, search warrant that we knew about on Mar-a-Lago that he released onto Breitbart that put a lot of FBI agents' lives in danger. And we're going to get into that later. But who could have possibly snitched on Trump? We talked about it a little bit last week. And if you missed Friday's pre recorded show, make sure you go back and watch it. It'll fill in any blanks that you have leading up to tonight. But there's going to be 2 videos. I'm going to see you in 2 and 2. Then we're going to discuss.
I was thinking the exact same thing. I was thinking it can't be Ivanka. I doubt it's Jared. Maybe it was Melania, because there were several instances where she just rolled her eyes in complete disgust towards him. But just this morning I came across this.
There was one inconsistency to Eric's story about how the former president learned about the raid yesterday morning. See if you can spot it.
You were with your dad as this was unfolding?
I was, Sean. In fact, I was the guy that got the call this morning, and I called my father and let him know that it happened.
So,
Again, why would they call Eric? It's not Eric's home. Why would they call him saying, hey, here's the search warrant, pass it on to your dad? I'm sorry, it just doesn't hold water to me.
Was it Donald? Who gave you up to the feds? Who squealed? Who told them what you kept in a safe at Mar-a-Lago? No, not that stuff. Disgusting. The classified documents. 15 boxes of top-secret files. That's naughty, Donald. And illegal. You broke the law. No wonder the Department of Justice and the FBI came knocking. They're coming for you. But who leaked? Who sold you out? Was it Jared? Ungrateful. Ivanka? They're backing away from you. Don Jr.? Your own son. Eric? Do you even care? Melania? She wants to escape. Mark Meadows? Who did it? All your old Washington friends are talking to the 1-6 committee and the grand jury. They weren't your friends. Maybe it was someone closer. Who could it be? Someone you trusted. Betrayed. Now you're the first president to have his home raided by the FBI. This is your legacy. It's bad, Donald. Your father would be ashamed. And there's no one you can trust. No one. No one at all. There never was.
Also, right now, Trump is running around believing that his house is full. He does truly believe that Melania has something to do with it. Of course, he's extremely paranoid because he screwed over so many people. And as I stated before, like I said, to fill in any blanks that you're missing from tonight, please go back and watch Friday's show. Former aides are coming up right now. Yes, we know that January 6th hearings are officially in recess until next month, but that does not mean the January 6th committee is not still working. Every single day since they have been on recess, they have been conducting interviews and interrogating people who were like, look, before you decide to call me, let me just come up and tell you what I have to say. Let me just show you what I have to show.
I'm loving every minute of this because I'm just like, everybody is now finally catching on that we had already told you this back in 2016, but everybody was sipping the Kool-Aid. So we just sat back and let y'all just sip the Kool-Aid, and now you seeing that the poison was in it. Hey, we told you. We gave you full clearance to know what was going on, but y'all didn't want to believe nobody. But let's move on. Go ahead, girl. What else we got to talk about?
We got Trump's views on the FBI currently.
From Donald Trump, they wanted to be left alone without any witnesses to see what they were doing, taking, or hopefully not planting. Obama and Clinton were never raided, despite big disputes. There wasn't a single indictment over the entirety of the 8 years of Obama's administration, you liar. And notice he only mentions the Clinton and Obama. There were also no raids of George W. Bush or George H.W. Bush. You're the first. Donald Trump, you're the first. Your criminality is unmatched. And now the MAGA morons are following suit.
And quite honestly, I'm concerned that they may have planted something.
We have no idea whether or not they planted evidence.
Yes, but I'm right with you. I say, oh, they're planting evidence.
What the FBI is probably doing is planting evidence.
This was an operation that I guarantee you was by the books like nothing ever has been by the books. Because it involves an historic event involving an ex-president of the United States. They're not going to endeavor this lightly.
And when I say he's spiraling, which is causing his cult members to spiral, because across the United States, they are protesting armed in front of FBI buildings. A gentleman yesterday decided he was going to go and attempt to shoot up the Capitol building and ended up just committing suicide. And let me say this. I don't care where you find my face. Do not come into my comment section. Do not walk up to me in person trying to make excuses for these people who are willing to give up their lives for Donald Trump. Because somebody had the audacity to say to me regarding the gentleman yesterday at the Capitol, oh, well, he had a criminal history. I just think he wanted to go out with a bang. I do realize that suicide by cop is a thing, but nobody is getting in their car, filling up their gas tank, and driving up to the Capitol just for GP. They're doing it for Trump. And for you all that think that I'm joking, they only back the blue when the blue isn't giving them consequences. But
I love that comment.
Social stuff. So FBI raid boosted MAGA voting fury. This is how they're looking at it. Stuart Varney, if Trump's Mar-a-Lago raid was designed to intimidate, it failed. Blast FBI DOJ for raid at Trump's Florida home. We can't trust the FBI after its long history of political meddling. Now, if you notice, it says it's a New York Post article. It's an opinion post. So let me read you from the article. The FBI's raid on former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home has Americans worried whether this untethered federal agency is suddenly a threat to democracy. Truth is, the FBI has played politics since its inception in the 1930s. It has a long tarnished history of resorting to deception, violence, and lawless methods in pursuit of partisan goals. Now, I want to stop right here just for a moment because these are the same people who, for generations, told us that the FBI was the end all to be all, should be trusted. And when we brought up their meddling regarding the civil rights movement, activists putting forth propaganda and lies, they were telling us that is not what they do. So that goes to show they're just full of it. But it goes on to say the FBI's dirty tricks in service of political favorites go way back when Senator Jared Ride, Republican of North Dakota, an isolationist unpopular with the FDR administration, criticized the role of the munitions industry in shaping U.S. foreign policy. The FBI made Nye's life miserable, opening his mail and looking in vain for evidence of criminal activity. Sounds very McCarthyism-ish. The FBI's dirty tricks in service of political favorites go way back when during the 1948 presidential election, as Vox notes, the FBI leaked the Republican candidate Thomas E. Dewey's information about President Harry Truman's past associations with the Pendergrass political machine back in Kansas City, Missouri. Republicans used the information to try to tarnish Truman, but he won anyway. Oh, and here we go. Dun, da, da, da. As always, we're going to dangle a little bone for the black people. The FBI made Dr. Martin Luther King their number one political target during the civil rights era. At one point, the agency even threatened to expose what they said was evidence of King's marital infidelities and suggested the only way out was suicide. The American Civil Liberties Union deplored the FBI's surveillance and raids against civil rights leaders, feminists, and leftists in the 1950s and 1960s. Here's the thing. Do you want to know what all of those instances had in common? The same thing that Trump was trying to have them have in common during his presidency. A president that was in control of the FBI instead of the FBI being independent. This people get so confused regarding that there are three branches of government and that there is separation. But it doesn't stop there. So FBI, why no raid of Hunter Biden's house? Once again, you see the New York Post pop up and you wonder, once again, yes, it is an opinion piece. And of course I have it. The message was unmistakable at Joint Base Andrews Wednesday, 2 days after former President Trump's Florida home was raided by the FBI. There, boarding Air Force One at 1:20 p.m., shoulder to shoulder with his father, the president, was Hunter Biden, whose home has never been raided. Quick pause. What public office has Hunter Biden run for or held? He is a private citizen that has nothing to do with politics. He is not a part of his family's cabinet, of his father's cabinet. He is not a senior advisor. He's not an advisor in any way. But I digress. Despite a snail's pace grand jury investigation into his suspect business dealings by the U.S. Attorney in Joe Biden's crony state of Delaware, despite copious documentary evidence that he accepted millions of dollars from America's adversaries in exchange for influencing his father, the vice president, despite actively working with communist China to extend Belt and Road imperialism across the globe to undermine America, Hunter 52 looked as if he didn't have a care in the world. All of that is literally talking points. None of it has been substantiated. The only connection that anybody has ever made with Russia has been the Trump family and Russia. And we know that Merrick Garland has a 100% conviction rate. If he had anything that was salacious regarding Hunter Biden would already be in prison. And Hunter Biden had nothing to do with Joe Biden's bid for presidency or even when he was thinking about it, because Joe Biden admitted he consulted Obama several times through the years. The first time he had a wild hair up his behind to run, Obama was like, nah, fam, this ain't the time for you. Then the next time he said something and he asked his granddaughters. But you want to know what both of these pieces have in common? They're both written by Miranda Devine. I dare you to guess where she falls on the spectrum, but we're not done with these idiots. Again from Truth Social. Wow. In the raid by the FBI of Mar-a-Lago, they stole my 3 passports, one expired, along with everything else. This is an assault on a political opponent at a level never seen before in our country. Third world. No, nobody's stealing anything. This is what you thought you were going to be able to do just at your whim, Donald Trump. And why do you have 3 passports? Because you should have a diplomatic passport and you should have a regular passport, and your regular blue passport should have been turned over when you became president. But we know you flip-flop whoopsie days, you do whatever you wanted to do while you were up in the Oval Office, because let's not bring up the emoluments clause. And while we're not even going to talk about the expired one. And let's go. So I love how they take tweets and act as if they're fact. Federal court filings reveal over 20 FBI agents were embedded in the hashtag January 6th crowd. And this was retweeted by Donald J. Trump. Well, retruthed on Truth Social. So true, I believe they did. Which one is it? GOP, you're telling so many lies. You can't keep up with them. First, you said it was Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Now you're saying that the FBI was involved in it, but Trump was the POTUS during January 6th and the insurrection. Well, whatever's clever. America has never suffered this kind of abuse and law enforcement for the FBI to raid the home of the 45th president of the United States, or any president for that matter, is totally unheard of and unthinkable. This break-in was a sneak attack on democracy, our republic, and was both unannounced and done at a time when the president was not even present. It was for political, not legal reasons, and our entire country is angry, hurt, and greatly embarrassed by it. Make America great again. First of all, the entire country is not upset. 2, when a warrant, whether it's for an evidentiary warrant or an arrest warrant, they do not owe you a heads up. And the fact that you weren't home, they were not checking with your schedule, boo-boo, and you are not the president of the United States. Go ahead.
I just have one thing to say to Mr. Trump. Are any of the objects, i.e. the boxes, a live person? Because as far as I know, unless you're a live person, your attorney does not need to be given a heads up for anything that's not a living thing. So them taking the boxes out of there, as they had a warrant to take the boxes out of there, they did not, as my cousin just said, did not need to give you a heads up for that. They don't. And besides, you need to be worrying about New York. That's where you need to be worrying about right now. Because he's still tightening the noose, as they say.
Well, he's so worried about his passports being taken. Let's call a spade a spade. Where was he going to go? Did he forget that? Did he forget that he has warrants from other countries? You afraid of the FBI and you're trying to secretly intimidate Merrick Garland. But baby, tussle with Interpol.
Girl, he don't want to tussle with Interpol. That would be a bad choice.
He thinks he's invincible. He thinks he's the lead character in the Godfather trilogy. I declare. But here's our last one. Just left a large gathering of people, and all they could talk about was the complete and total stranglehold that the radical left Democrats have over the DOJ and FBI. It shouldn't be that way. Nobody goes after BLM, Antifa, or the rest, despite murder, beatings, and burning down large sections of cities, a very unfair double standard. They definitely won't attack the home of a former Democrat president, or should they? It's so out of control, great simmering anger. Here's the thing. Black Lives Matter, the movement nor the organization, is the only organization that is out here fighting for the equity of Black people. I need y'all to stop. All you're doing is allowing your racism to show. Antifa is an ideology, not an actual organization. The only beatings, murders, and everything else occurred, and it has already been confirmed so many times that it was by white supremacists and your back the blue cronies that go out there and do it. Every time something does not go you all's way, what do? Oh, we're going to do a civil war. They don't know about us yet. Why do you think y'all are out here giving your lives and inflicting harm on people because your favorite reality TV show grifter can't have his way?
What gets me, though, is when this whole January 6th thing went down and a lot of people, quote unquote, went home. A lot of them couldn't go on the planes list. I was so happy because a lot of them got on the no-fly list. I was like, ooh, you thought you were going to take a plane back? Baby, you better hope you didn't have and since a lot of you had your cell phones on, y'all better hope they don't check those records.
Yep. And coming from the businessinsider.com, Trump claims FBI agents took 3 of his passports during the Mar-a-Lago raid. And he really needs to stop using buzzwords like they stole, they didn't. It was a legal warrant. But here are the cliff notes. Trump claims the FBI agents took 3 of his passports during the Mar-a-Lago raid last week. Go back because he probably has some more, or he's having somebody make some fraudulent ones. The former president said one of the passports was expired. High-ranking U.S. officials often receive a specific diplomatic passport. Former President Donald Trump claimed on Monday that the FBI seized 3 of his passports during a raid on his Mar-a-Lago property, during which agents took 15 boxes, including some with classified records. Keep in mind, Mar-a-Lago is listed as a National Historic Landmark. I don't know how. And a golf resort. This is not a private residence. It's not. It is no different than if I rent a hotel room and an Amber Alert goes out for the hotel room and they're looking for a child. They have every right to come through my room and search. And if they're able to obtain a warrant because I'm doing some sketchy stuff and they've investigated, like, hold up, last time we saw this child was with her, we got her in 4K, they can come in. In the raid by the FBI of Mar-a-Lago, they stole my 3 passports, one expired, along with everything else, Trump wrote on Truth Social, his social media platform. This is an assault on a political opponent at a level never seen before in the country. Now, let me break this statement down that he keeps throwing out, that Biden is going after a political opponent. Trump has not said that he was running for election in the 2024 election. Trump is merely grifting by having all of these rallies and doing all of these tours. He's even fundraising off of this raid. He's fundraising off of Ivana's death. He has not said, hey, I want this. And if you all remember a few weeks back, I covered it here, that the RNC told Trump, chill. If you don't, we're not paying your legal bills anymore, let alone giving you the nomination for the GOP if you decide to run. So there's no political rivalry here. That's like me saying, oh, LeBron James doesn't like me because of a professional rivalry. I'm not in the NBA.
Say it one more time for the people in the back.
But we got some blockbuster updates on Trump. Here's one. Let's roll it out.
Now that we know that Donald Trump is under criminal investigation for violating the Espionage Act for gross mishandling of highly sensitive intelligence, Let's revisit something he said back on the campaign trail in 2016.
On political corruption, we are going to restore honor to our government. In my administration, I'm going to enforce all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law.
So law and order for everybody else except for Donald Trump, and the MAGA crowd laps it up like the bootlickers they are.
Now, please stop with this. I thought the GOP was the party of law and order. First of all, there's a whole blog tagged in the description of this video. Law and order is a dog whistle. It is a dog whistle against marginalized people, most notably Black people. It is no different than the war on crime, crime and punishment, the war on drugs, things like that. It is a dog whistle. They are not looking for law and order. They're looking for the order to continue to control. But he's being charged with the crimes against the country regarding the Espionage Act,
which I love.
But right in good old GOP fashion, while Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to put forth articles of impeachment for Merrick Garland, who did not break the law, but she's an idiot. This is what they're trying to do regarding the Espionage Act. Y'all gonna get a kick out of this.
They just keep saying the quiet part out loud. And in this latest example is Rand Paul, pushing for a repeal of the Espionage Act. Now, why would he want this act repealed? Can anyone think of a reason that the GOP might want to see this law repealed? The law that spells out the treasonous acts, espionage, penalties for doing so. Anybody?
More than Trump are going to go down. And let me give you all a little history on Rand Paul. You all understand just how big of a freaking idiot he is. Because people always go, but Taz, he's a doctor. This is no shade to any optometrist or ophthalmologist. But I am not going to use either of those terms to describe him. He is an eye doctor. I'm talking old school Little House on the Prairie eye doctor. He is so piss poor at his job that he could no longer qualify for the association. So he tried to make another association, which is not federally recognized, which is not a part of any board, under his wife's name.
What the hell?
He still carries. It didn't last long. It lasted a hot second. You blinked, you missed it. It was gone.
Oh, okay, I was about to say.
Who was joining it? It has no accreditation. You can't open your doors with it. That's why, have you ever heard anybody say that Rand Paul was ever their doctor?
No. Only unless you're an idiot.
This man has stood in Senate committee hearings and said things that the most basic freshman in undergrad, let alone in medical school, should and would know. And I'm sorry, unpopular opinion.
It's not unpopular opinion.
You are dealing with somebody's life. I'm sorry. It is time for us to stop handing diplomas to D+, D-, and C- students in college. You got to redo.
Again, it's not an unpopular opinion.
You got to redo. But law and order is a dog whistle that implies that marginalized folks don't believe in law and order. Exactly. That we are more violent and that we do not abide by the law, that we need to be reminded and we need harsher punishments in order for us to learn our lessons. That's where that comes from.
Well, look at Ashada Shakur. Had to flee the country because, who was it? Eisenhower, I think it was. Was it Eisenhower?
First of all, the most corrupt police department at that time that had well-known Nazis and were associated with a Nazi subgroup that would have fairs. They didn't call them fairs, but that's what they were, around the area. Shot her up refused to give her proper medical care for a time, would come in intimidating her by giving the Nazi salute, interfere with attorney-client confidentiality,
Of course.
doctored information. This is what they do, but they're supposed to be above the law. The biggest criminals known to mankind are within the police department and or the military. And I say and or because a lot of times they flip-flop back and forth. The reason why we have so many unsolved crimes because the perpetrators are investigating their own crimes. And if you think I'm joking, why do y'all think that when ancestry.com and 23andMe and so many others started coming out with DNA kits, murders started becoming solved? Why do you think they don't want body cams and they get so pissed off when they see you turn on your cell phone? And this is why I say, get a dash cam because they never pay attention to your dash. They're too busy looking at you. And get you a dash cam that has an app attached to it that someone else, if they do not hear from you by a certain time, can get into.
Also, adding on to that, there are dash cams that have rear cameras too. So keep an eye out for them. That's probably the better way to go so you can catch them coming and going. Because it'll pull up on your console if something's behind, like whatever's behind you. Like if it gets too close, the camera will turn on. So dash cam and a rear view camera. It'll, if you have the console one, that it'll come up on a console, like where your radio is. That's fine. Or if it does your mirror, I prefer you do the console so it's a bigger screen so you can actually see.
Or get the ones that are hidden in your rearview mirror. Because they won't even think to look. Nobody will think to look until your friends or family go to retrieve that information. But as always, Trump has put out so many lies, and I'm sure you all have seen the arguments that are going on right now in real life and on social media that they are contradicting themselves. Let's dig into that. It's a short, actually, there's 2 videos, so see you in about 2 minutes.
Trump and co were telling so many lies that the lies started to just blatantly and hilariously contradict each other. The documents were planted, they said. But then they also said Trump declassified the documents. He declassified documents that were planted. Right. Oh, and those planted documents were definitely declassified, even though we learned on Friday that the FBI removed 11 sets of classified documents, including some marked as top secret and meant to be only available in special government facilities. Oh dear.
First, let's go through the lies. This is my favorite part. First, they said, there's nothing to find there. This is a ridiculous witch hunt. Nothing to find. Then they said, the FBI planted it. Yeah. Now, today, Donald Trump blows a hole through that because he's like, there are documents. There was something to find. And I said earlier that the FBI planted it. But you know what? I secretly declassified it. Wait, did you declassify the documents they planted? He said both things. Right wingers, find a lie and stick with it. Okay. Now I know you guys don't care. You could say at the same time January 6th was Antifa and the greatest patriots in the world who are political prisoners or should be released and tourists. I know that you are able to keep all these thoughts in your head at the same time. It's kind of a gift. Okay. The rest of us are burdened with having to deal with truth. But in this case, just as a helpful hint, you might want to stick with just one lie.
Now, with all the lies that were told, that we hear them spewing, and let us not forget the biggest lie that has happened since Biden was inaugurated is that Biden is not really the president. It is really Trump, and Trump is running the country from Mar-a-Lago. So, going by ultra MAGA Trumplican rhetoric, their lies, that would mean that Trump had himself raided and he would have known that he was being raided, which for all you conspiracy theorists out there, that would mean that's why Trump was in New York when Mar-a-Lago was being raided in Palm Beach. Like, y'all got to keep up with these lies. But here's something very, 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 very interesting. I kind of saw this coming and I kind of thought this was coming, but I really couldn't research it because I don't want to tussle with the FBI, nor the CIA, nor the Secret Service. Y'all wondering why I'm saying I didn't want to research this? Because if you don't know, I work in IT. This has to do with IT, and this was not on my Trump bingo card.
Breaking news. A team of hackers hired by Trump attorney Sidney Powell ended up going into Georgia's voting systems and copying their voter rolls and stealing information. They also targeted Michigan and Nevada. This is highly illegal, and it's speculated there will be charges brought to everyone involved in this scheme.
This was not on my Trump bingo card, but I did hear rumors about it. Now y'all understand why I said I didn't research it. Because, yeah, them boys.
I'm gonna leave Merrick Garland alone because I don't need to be brought up on charges. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there.
They don't have a new date for the President Trump reveal since, JFK Jr. never showed up in Florida.
He didn't? I thought he did, girl. Girl, I thought he was coming back.
And that somehow he was going to reinstate Trump into the presidency. Now, I know, what they called the White House during Jackie and Jack's time there, okay? But that did not, and I know people jokingly and admiringly, refer to them as American royalty, the Kennedys, but they weren't really aristocracy. Let's say JFK Jr., because, he was having marital issues before he passed away. Let's say he didn't want to go through the same public thing as his mother did. Okay. Let's just say that. And he had a failed business, that magazine, George. Let's say he wanted to do over that and he wanted to pull in Amelia Earhart. I'm going to just disappear for a little bit and come back. Do you really think that he would align himself with Trump? Let's look at the Kennedy family. They had real mob ties, but they didn't like the black people. They didn't like the brown people. Yes, Sidney, the cracking crackhead. But this one, y'all, this is gonna be a long one. This is about 2.5 minutes, but it is worth you listening to every bit of
information. More information.
On the video where I said classified ladies room, because y'all know I like to play around with words. This is going to explain it to you. And this is going to show you how far back Trump has been moving documents from the White House to Mar-a-Lago. Remember when I kept telling y'all when he first started calling Mar-a-Lago the Winter White House, that he was doing it for a reason, to have a play on words. Because when it comes down to court proceedings, trust my word, he's and his attorneys are going to use the phrase Winter White House to try to skate around these espionage charges. But pay close attention. Heck, y'all might want to get some pen and paper and take some notes, baby.
I'll tell you, I found classified information in the ladies' room of the White House one time in the Eisenhower Executive Office Building, and I immediately walked it right up to security and said, I just found this in the bathroom. I covered it up. I put it in a folder. It wasn't marked properly. The folder wasn't, because I was not expecting to walk in the ladies' room and find a document like that. But I marched right up. I gave him my name. I gave him the information. I said, I don't know. I can't tell you. I can't track how it got there. I'm happy to sit down and discuss it. And that is a level of effort that when you're an intelligence officer, you have a responsibility to really protect this information. And so the fact that these boxes were just sitting down there in a place where a lot of foreigners tend to traffic there. I mean, lots of traffic in that area, where clearly, prime target for counterintelligence operations and things like that. And again, I'll say this: what information is there about international sources? And also, we have intelligence exchanges with our foreign partners. I am sure that people like the UK, people like France, and other partners are sitting there thinking, what information is possibly in those and who has gotten a hold of it now? And look, this information, I'll tell you this, when it comes to the compartmented things, that for people like me who had high clearances, and I've worked at the Department of Energy, I'm familiar with nuclear information and things like that. You go in, you sign, and you read it,
Right.
you walk out. You don't just roll out with it and, carry it back to your office. That's the type of sort of protection that you are expected to carry out and exhibit. And so I just think that this is all very gravely concerning. And I'll tell you this, many of us in the national security community and those of us who work in the Trump administration, we worried about this.
Right.
We worried about the fact that there was clearly not a great understanding by the president of how to handle this information when Trump was in office. And we worried about the fact that he would just disclose things in conversations, right? And you didn't know what he was going to say. And so clearly there was a disconnect across the board here of the importance of this type of information and how to protect it.
Well, let us not forget his infamous conversation with Kid Rock. You know how the GOP loves to tell people, just dribble the ball, just play your music, stay out of politics. But people were first of all, people knew about this conversation so much that Tucker Carlson had Kid Rock on his show to talk about the conversation between Kid Rock and Donald Trump, where Donald Trump was asking advice from Kid Rock about what to do with major political topics. You know what? I thought things couldn't get lower than Ronald Reagan relying on Nancy Reagan, who relied on a faux astrologist for information. This is an all-time low for the United States. And the United States already has a despicable history. And the presidency, oh my God, we can get into that on another day. But if he's going to ask Kid Rock that, his top senior advisors are his son-in-law, who wrote a book just trying to get ahead of everything and try to absolve them of it. Like, this book is supposed to just land on Merrick Garland's desk and just be like, oh, you know what? I was wrong. Jared Kushner explained it to me. And Ivanka Trump. Ivanka, who couldn't even sell fashion properly. Oh, yeah. And the thing about it is, there are dozens of fireplaces within the White House. This idiot, instead of burning them, instead of having them incinerated, instead of shredding them, ripped them up to have them flushed down the toilet.
There's a whole furnace. What's wrong with you?
On Air Force One and in the White House. This has been confirmed multiple times by multiple people. But if y'all remember, there was a gentleman that used to be real cool, a bedfellow, if you will, of Donald John Trump.
I'm pretty sure he was a bedfellow.
Well, John Bolton is fed up with the fed up. And now that there are real charges coming, not like, oh, we're going to spend 90 days in jail or 2 or 3 months or maybe 2 or 3 years in a prison. They're not going to Martha Stewart prison. John Bolton had this to say, and John Bolton had it to say on a far right-wing news outlet. This was intentional. This was to try to shake awake some people. And I will say that a lot of these tactics that these people are having by going to their own propaganda machines for the GOP, from what I've seen today in updates, there are a lot of lifelong Republicans that have said, because of this January 6th stuff, because of this Mar-a-Lago stuff, they're not even voting Republican anymore. And there are Democrats that are getting out to vote for Liz Cheney to ensure that Trump doesn't go that far. Do you hear me? People are crisscrossing party lines. We're about to have a truly bipartisan election because of Donald J. Trump. But y'all take the
Wait, one second. You mean to tell me this boy went on a right-wing platform and said this?
I'm about to show you. You know, if I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna bring the proof. Here we go.
John Bolton, yes, that John Bolton, who was appointed by Trump as a UN ambassador, went on to Newsmax a couple of days ago and said, oh no, you fucking don't, and told Boiling, the Newsmax anchor, who's a super Trumper, that we are safer under Biden than we were under Trump. And also called him out on lying saying that Biden was responsible for what happened in Afghanistan when the 13 people died. Watch this.
Who cut the deal, Eric? Who cut the deal?
Who delivered the deal?
Donald
Biden
Trump cut
delivered
the deal,
the deal.
didn't he?
No. Trump wanted
What would
a
Trump have
smooth-
done?
He
What
wanted
would
to leave
Trump have done
2,500
had
people
he been
there.
reelected?
Remember? Sir, let's be
No, he
honest with
did
the
not.
people.
He absolutely did not. He did. Eric, you don't know what you're talking.
They are officially over Donald Trump. The Republican establishment is literally done with him.
Now, I don't know if you all remember when I gave you a brief history of my knowledge of Newsmax. This was before Trump was president. This was before Trump was running. Trump had not officially stated that he was running or trying to even obtain the GOP nomination for the presidency. I was flipping through the news, and I like to go in and out and see news from all sides. It does not mean that I agree with a news station because I sit and watch it for a little bit. But there was a time where I'd say 95% of the commercials on Newsmax were all about Trump, selling Trump merch, calling Trump the best thing ever, putting up all these websites, endorsing all of, taking advertisements from all these organizations that were just so pro-Trump. When I say they are steeped in Trump, if you think Fox News was guzzling the glizzy of Trump, no. Newsmax is far deeper down that rabbit hole than the rest of them. Because there's OAN, Fox News, Breitbart, Newsmax, and News Nation. Don't let News Nation fool you, because their advertisements will be like, oh, you can finally get someplace that's unbiased news. Watch it for 30 minutes. Watch it for 30 minutes. They are fervently right. They're just trying to get to that demographic of conservative Republicans that are stepping away from the Kool-Aid. And if they can convince these people that, oh, you're getting impartial information from us, we'll keep going. Well, we got 3 videos coming up. And y'all,
I think my mind is officially blown.
I told you there were a lot of updates today. A lot of stuff.
Donald Trump just had his passport seized. That's it. That's the TikTok. Listen, I don't know if he's going to Saudi Arabia or not. And apparently he had like 3 passports and he wasn't supposed to have 2, so we illegally had 2 of them. So yes, they did seize his fucking passports, but look at this! There are now 3 docket entries in the docket for the Trump warrant to get all of his files. There are 3 sealed dockets. Oh my god, this is the good shit!
Hold on to your butts, bachachos. Shit's getting real. So today, while I was in the office, we learned a whole bunch of new stuff. Like how there was another warrant that was signed on the same day as the original warrant to search Mar-a-Lago, but that's still sealed. Makes you wonder what that's all about, huh? Pause to read if you would like all of the details of that being sealed and not being unsealed anytime soon. In other news, apparently Donald Trump's complaining because his passports were taken. And when I say passports, I mean 2 passports. Many people are like, oh, but why does he have multiple passports? Well, a lot of diplomats do. One, they will have a red passport that is for diplomats. And then second, they will have their regular U.S. passport, which is your blue passport that you're used to. In other news, the lawyers for Trump in Georgia during the recounts tried to access voter equipment that they weren't allowed to fucking access. But don't worry, we'll get to Rudy, Lindsay, and Georgia in another video. This one we got to finish up the Trump shit. And as if shit is not bad enough for Donald Trump already, there are 2 new, not 1, but 2 new docket entries on that court. And it's sealed. I wonder if one could be an indictment. It's almost like Christmas, guys. So all in all, guys, it seems as though today's been a really bad day for Donald Trump, and I don't see it getting better anytime soon. Oh, and Jim Jordan, you have a lot to say about these 14 whistleblowers from the FBI, yet magically had nothing to say when it was your job to protect those Ohio State wrestling students that asked you for help because they were being essayed by one of the coaches, and you covered it up. Anyways, part 2 coming about Rudy and Lindsay. In the past 3 hours, 3 sealed indictments have been filed regarding the Mar-a-Lago raid. I can't help but wonder who's about to fucking be indicted. And you know what the best part of all of it is? The entire time the January 6th committee has been away, every single day, they have been taking depositions of witnesses that have come forward. Benny Thompson tweeted about it the other day. He was like, the January 6th committee is hard at work even though you haven't heard from us. And that's like a cliff note with what's happening right now. Cancel the fall lineups. Who needs drama TV when your country is literally burning to the ground because you elected a reality television show host to be president who was financially compromised by other countries?
So before you say anything, I have deep levels of love for everyone who is talking about this because it's like the hottest news since it's happened since, January 6th. So, Mr. Trump, I have a question for you, and I hope you can answer it, if your lawyers allow you to. Where were you going? Come on, spill that tea. Spill that tea, because there's only 2 places you can go. There's only 2 that'll actually take you. But only if you have one of them, only if you have the goods, only if you still have the goods, but you no longer have the goods because they've taken them.
Russian TV has already spilled the beans that they had already been talking to Trump and he had already been giving them information. So
no, I know. I saw that.
Yeah, the nails in his coffin are just so fervently planted. I remember earlier in the show where I told y'all don't come to me making excuses for these people that they're willing to do stuff. And I know a bunch of y'all be like, oh, Taz, that's a stretch. Buckle up, Buttercup. This is a long one. But you
see, I'm patting my forehead, girl.
Life is always more outrageous than fiction. But here we go.
Donald Trump, my son, do not doubt me and do not doubt what I will do for you. I'll protect whom you love, and I'll protect this nation from what you are being told is possible, and it could be the worst case scenarios. This will not happen. I will not allow your enemies to go that far. I know it's hard to imagine less casualties in a situation like this, but I have done this in my word before. My son, go to 2 Chronicles 20 in my written word and read what I did for my people. The enemies fought each other and none on my side were lost. This is possible. Get in prayer with me. Surround yourselves with people who can pray with authority, who will lead you in the right direction. Donald, you have had people surrounding you who have purposely given you bad advice. Some know they are sent there to sabotage you. I will reveal the ones who are left. I will tell you who to have near you during this time. My son, it's go time. So go, and I will be with you. I will be with this nation. You are a part of the new United States. I have called you here for this moment. I promise you, my son, I will not fail you, and I will not fail this nation. I love you beyond what you could have imagined. Everything stolen, everything lost, you are about to get back in multiplication. My son, beyond your wildest dreams, I will restore and give back more. I will shield your family, and no one will touch them. I have my angel army surrounding you and your family in this time. So go and do what I have called you to do, and I will be with you, my son. Thank you for your sacrifice, and thank you for your obedience. Thank you for trusting me, despite what you have seen and what your enemies have tried to do to break you. I will break them and all their plans. This is that time. I will give you peace and rest you've never known. When you sleep, I will come to you and tell you what to do. I am here, and I will always be here for you, my son. Saith the Lord of hosts.
Part 10 of what you may have missed on Twitter. This is Garrett Ziegler, and he's one of the ones who posted the FBI agent's personal information on Truth Social and Telegram. He posted their names, their pictures, their addresses, their phone numbers, and other personal information about them. And this is his response to Truth Social taking down his posting of the FBI agent's personal information. It actually does matter for many reasons. Here are two. There are people, not just institutions, ruining America. They have names and faces and addresses. They must be stopped. And Garrett Ziegler might look familiar to you. He was a Trump White House aide, and he was also questioned by the J6 committee. And after he was questioned by the J6 committee, he went on some type of tirade saying that he's a Christian, but he also called the female Trump White House aides hoes and thoughts. And here's a more recent picture of him. This guy is 100% one of the Christian nationalism crowd. Well, if you know, you know. He's also the guy who let Traitor Mike Flynn, Sidney Powell, Patrick Bryan, and others into the infamous White House meeting. Wow, he just set fire to his future. I saw another post that said he posted links to the FBI agent's children's social media pages, and he did. I saw it on Telegram, and Telegram has not taken those links down yet. And I will end with this. 18 U.S. Code 119, protection of individuals performing certain official duties. He can be fined and imprisoned up to 5 years.
When I tell you that they are you, people keep equating the ultra MAGA Trumplicans to the Jonestown cult. One, please stop. Historically, it is not correct. One, Jones utilized the preaching style of a black man to encourage black women specifically to join the cult. Two, there was a lot of dissension towards the end. People wanted to leave, and he started murdering them before the mass suicide. And it was a mass suicide / murder. There were times where he forced parents to give their children the cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. There were people who were just shot to death. There were people who were stabbed after the big congregation where they drank the Kool-Aid. These people, Trump will never have to force. Never. There was an individual who took to Twitter to talk about their Proud Boy MAGA hat cousin destroying his father's house because he gave up all his money, so he can't live on his own. And they spend all their time online talking about it's the black and brown people and the immigrants that's the reason why I can't get a job. No, you're online all day guzzling up this stuff that doesn't even make sense. It's completely illogical, but I digress. Saying that it's going to be a war. Look at what's already happened. There was one big lie that was told regarding an election, and an insurrection happened. Right now, there are multiple lies happening, and these people are going to fight tooth and nail to not admit that they got grifted.
I'm like, look.
The greatest thieves that you know in history, a lot of them did not die by the hands of execution or police. They died by the hands of their most prominent victims because these people would rather take a murder charge or believe that they can get away with it than be embarrassed. Remember that. And also, think about the wording that all of these people are using. The more angry they are getting, they are dipping deep into AAVE.
I'm just like, it just puts me into mind. I'm just like you were saying, He literally talked these people into giving the money. Now, most of them thought, oh, it's only going to be a one-time thing. No, baby. He was charging you every month. Like every month he was charging you that price and sometimes double the price. This is why I say, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to contribute to anything, not just the Republicans, make sure it's a cash donation mailed to wherever they tell you to mail it, and that's it. Cut it off at the root. So if it's money wasted, it's money wasted.
Stop just looking at the donate button and not anything else. But they're already, now we already know that Trump has tried to shift the blame over to Obama. He's tried to shift the blame over to Hillary Clinton. Now his cronies are trying to shift blame onto Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's run it.
Watch the vice president actually do exactly what Karine said no one should be doing.
Well, as a former prosecutor, I will tell you, I don't speak about anybody else's case. But I have full confidence that the Department of Justice will do what the facts and the law require. And any so-called leader who engages in rhetoric that in any way suggests that law enforcement should be exposed to that kind of danger is irresponsible and can result in dangerous activities.
If the company line is, we had no knowledge of this and we're not commenting on it, why is the vice president inserting herself and commenting on it?
What the vice president is commenting on is not the case. What she's commenting on is the hate that the Republican lawmakers are stoking towards the FBI.
The FBI and the Department of Justice are going to give Trump a fair and impartial firing squad.
The DOJ resembles the Gestapo more than a justice-seeking agency, and we are ready for battle.
I think every American should be upset about this. You should never use the Justice Department on a political whim like this.
Do I know that the boxes of material they took from Mar-a-Lago, that they won't put things in those boxes to entrap him?
Paul Gosseler, a Republican in your caucus from Arizona, said we must destroy the FBI, we must save America. I stand with Donald Trump. Marjorie Taylor Greene says,
we have to defund and make cuts in the Department of Justice.
The vice president is also referring to someone leaking the warrant and exposing the names of the FBI agents that were involved and putting them in danger.
The former president's social media network put out a push alert promoting a story from a conservative outlet that identified the FBI agents involved in this search. And this comes after an armed man tried to enter an FBI office in Cincinnati with an AR-15 assault rifle. He was killed in the process of that. How is that not encouraging violence against federal law enforcement officers in this climate to identify them?
Well, obviously, I don't know who you're referring to on social media, but
it was the former president's social media network.
You're saying that someone on social media said that. I'm telling you what I have said.
I'm
telling
saying
you what
Breitbart reported it. His social media network put it out.
My entire Republican committee membership openly at the beginning of our press conference demanding, as has bipartisan demands been, show us
which is separate from what I'm asking.
And we did so.
Which is not what I'm asking.
We did.
Also, can we comment about this?
No one should be doing.
No one should be doing.
You're just in time for supper, dear.
Creepy.
That was shady. That was shady at the end.
But they're going to do any and everything. And the thing about it is, this is extremely, extremely dangerous. Think of Salem witch trials. Think of the Red Scare, aka McCarthyism. Think of all these things and the detriment that has happened. It has already started happening in the wake of Roe v. Wade, where Facebook and even people's friends are turning them over because once again, people want to feel better than the next person. They want to be better. The GOP conservatives, period, on both sides, on all sides of the aisle, they survive off of perception. If they can be perceived to be the all-American, perfect, hoity-toity family, they're going to do it. So they will throw any and everyone under the bus in order to accomplish that. Now we've got one final video, and then it's a wrap. Here we go.
Lindsay Rudy. Oh boys, are you in trouble? Let's start with America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani, who has now been notified that he is the target of a criminal investigation in the state of Georgia. And he still plans on showing up for his grand jury testimony this week. As a lawyer, you should know better, my friend. And Miss Lindsey Graham, you must go to Georgia and testify. You must sit for that grand jury testimony. And a judge has told you that now. So I suggest you scurry on down to the Peach State. How many times are you going to have to plead the fifth? I'm willing to bet a whole time. Southern Belle Lindsay, looks like you're going to have to mosey on down to the Peach State.
And when you're the target of an investigation, they have evidence that you're guilty. You're not being brought in as a person of interest. You're not being brought in as a witness. You're the guilty party. They're just trying to give you a chance before they decide just how hard to put the hammer down.
So I am going to be, well, me and Taz here are going to be watching this like hawks to spill all the tea. Especially now that we see that his passports were taken. Baby, you thought you was getting out. Oh, and by the way, I'm just gonna let them know because I have a few people who do things that I shall not mention on this internet today. Yeah, we're gonna be keeping an eye out for certain things that would help you flee the country if you catch my meaning. Just saying. So I got my feelers out. So if you want to try that today, I already know who to report to. Just saying. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, because they keep screaming about a civil war, and we know that
you ain't gonna stay here if that happened.
Between replacement theory, Roe v. Wade, Trumplicans, this is why I say learning history is not hard and it is a must. If you choose not to learn it, you are forever perpetuated into an increasingly more violent Groundhog's Day. Each time it rotates back around in the cycle, it gets more violent, more hectic, and more stupid. And I mean the general public gets more stupid. Because I want you to think about something right now and why so many people are so easily swayed. And don't even say, well, Taz, there are people your age and older that know this. If you don't do it and you don't utilize it, you can lose it. Why do you think they stopped teaching cursive? Because you cannot read the original founding documents or older documents without being able to understand and read cursive. And think about the last time you truly had to write cursive. Don't tell me about signing something because you could just put a squiggly line on there. They don't verify your signature. When was the last time you wrote out or read cursive?
Even to that, they stopped verifying your signature by asking you to pull out your ID. I don't know if y'all remember that.
They stopped verifying signatures when they stopped using the carbon copies and sending it into the bank. The moment that it became digitized, they were not verifying your signatures. So all the times that they're like, but my signature was on it. No. If you remember, there was a period of time where there were certain cards you could get that had your picture on the back. That was the only time that you had any type of security. And given that most people do things online, how often do you sign your signature? When was the last time you wrote a handwritten love letter? When was the last time you even wrote something in cursive?
Does it count if you write out your notes?
That's still writing, DMAC.
I'm just saying.
Anywho, I will check in with you all tomorrow. There's a lot more tidbits that I have for you from over the weekend, and I'm sure more that will come down the pipeline tomorrow. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one.